Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all well. So we're well and truly into our uh, 2 and a bit weeks training program here at the TEL department. I hope you've got a chance to catch up with some of the earlier sessions. They're all recorded anyway. But yeah, so today we're going to talk, myself and Ruth, my colleague there, we're going to talk about Canvas Studio, which is a new platform that we're introducing at MTU. It's being rolled out both in Cork and Kerry, in fact. And while it's now available, we're quite eager to get feedback from staff and students on its use. We'll be ironing out any issues and refinements to do with the platform over the coming weeks and months. So yeah, we're really interested to hear how you're using it when you do get to use it, that is. So yeah, so let's get started. So this session is going to be a mixture of kind of demo and kind of chat around Canvas Studio. Um, Right. So just in terms of what it can do, so Canvas Studio is a platform that in structure to make its makers of Canvas acquired as a platform a number of years back. It was previously known as Arc, and what it does is it allows staff and students, users, to basically upload rich media. So that media can be video or audio content. I'll go through the formats in a minute there, but I suppose the key things that you can do is you can upload content, you can embed content from third parties, so from Vimeo and from YouTube. You can also create content through the browser and through a program that you might recall using before called Screencast-O-Matic. Confusingly, uh, Screencast-O-Matic is an older version of ScreenPal. So and I know a number of you would have been using Screencast-O-Matic during emergency remote teaching and so on. So ScreenPal is still in use. It's a kind of a professional version. Screencast-O-Matic, which is bundled with Canvas Studio, is an open source version. So it basically those two platforms still work side by side and they're quite similar. Um, you can embed, I said, you can create either through your web browser, so you can create videos as you would have with video announcements and audio announcements in Canvas. And you can also do some limited screen capture in your browser. But probably for most of you, I think you'll be using the application, the Screencast-O-Matic application, or indeed you might be using ScreenPal to produce and edit screencasts as you always have been, I guess, and then uploading into Canvas Studio. You can also edit in the browser. So again, so I suppose there's two scenarios here. You have web-based editing and capture, and you have desktop editing and capture. So the web-based, there's always going to be maybe small issues with web-based. You need certain permissions in your browsers to be able to use your microphone and your webcam, for example. But for people that just want to top and tail a video that they've created really quickly, like an announcement, the web-based capture might work best. But like most multimedia authoring, you're best to do kind of the heavier stuff, especially if you're doing more detailed screencasts on your desktop. So whether that's a PC or a Mac or otherwise. You can also manage your library. So as you accumulate videos and audio that you're using for teaching and learning purposes in Canvas, you can manage that. You can put them into collections. You can share them across your modules, and you can also share them with colleagues and students across the university to use and reuse. And also the really interesting features that Ruth is going to discuss in a few minutes are around how you can engage students through discussion, through commentary, and also to turn it back on its head. So students can also upload material into Canvas Studio and they can be part of assessment material. So practical examples might include student presentations that you want them to upload, and you can then through the speed grader, you can add comments and feedback along the timeline. So you can kind of plot out various points through the timeline that you're going to give them feedback in context. So it's called temporal feedback, I suppose. Um, just before we kind of get into the core features of Canvas Studio, I wanted to talk to you about some of the benefits of video for learning, um, particularly when we're talking about Canvas Studio in the context of teaching and learning. So Canvas Studio aside, video for learning. So there's a number of good articles I can share afterwards. We'll email out those who registered with the slide deck and so on. But K 2012 conducted a very comprehensive review of video podcasts in education, and they revealed, like other studies, that students often find this material more beneficial, especially in understanding complex concepts and retaining information. Um, all the while, I guess, with video and with any rich media, you have to be aware of cognitive load, so not to be overloading the senses of the learner. Video, as we're well aware in MTU and delivering online programs and using Zoom and so on, the recordings and any video that's produced can be used, for students at their own time and pace. So, for example, Lloyd and Robertson in 2012 found that video resources allowed them not only to do so at their own pace, but offered the flexibility to review materials multiple times and to enhance comprehension and individual learning speeds. So you can speed up videos, you can play them in your own time, etc., etc. Rackway 2012 demonstrated that integrating video into your coursework or your module work can lead to improved academic performance. So students are able to grasp maybe more complex concepts through rich media. And then Hisson and Seagas in 2013, highlighting here in terms of effectiveness for skill performance is that video-based learning, particularly effective in teaching practical skills rather, so providing clear demonstrations and emulating kind of real world or real world concepts. So especially beneficial in fields where you're requiring procedural knowledge. So look, we're probably preaching to the converted here. I would say check out this guide, and I'll paste it into the chat there and in the follow-up. A very good resource there by Vanderbilt University on the effectiveness of educational videos. And key things they talk about there are things like cognitive load, signaling, segmenting or chunking video, weeding and matching modality, and something you're all probably familiar with is active learning as well. So we'll throw that in the video description as well afterwards. So let's get to the core of it all. So Canvas Studio, I myself and Ruth thought it would be a good idea, maybe just to, rather than jumping straight into the tool first, to give you maybe a few ideas of use cases. So Canvas Studio staff use cases could include the following, and this isn't an exhaustive list, but it's representative, I suppose, of the main categories that you might be looking at in terms of use of Canvas Studio. So you can it enhances learning material. So, for example, you can record, as I said, and upload videos or screencasts, but you can also add interactive quizzes on top of those videos to check understanding. So that can be very useful for pre-module knowledge checks and things like that, where you might present a video, you're asking the students about the video, and you're getting the analytics as well that go with that. So all of those quizzes and the views and stuff are all time-stamped and viewable. So comments as well, like I suppose the discussion side of things is a really interesting use as well, where you have kind of threaded discussions happening with videos, so students can chat amongst themselves in terms of peer learning and peer feedback around particular videos, whether they're videos they produce themselves or videos that you host for them as part of the module. Feedback and assessment is obviously a very key one in terms of staff use cases. So the use of video for personalized feedback, and I know quite a lot of people are using rich media in the speed grader already, for providing, really comprehensive feedback. What this allows you to do is, I suppose, is to have a bit of a step up from that, to be able to use video for personalized feedback and to have the comments and the and that in temporal feedback along the timeline. You can assess student presentations with timestamp annotations. So I'm a really big fan of student presentations, particularly in online programs, and this would be a real time saver because rather than writing your feedback in text-based format where it just speaks to the video as a whole, you can annotate in on the timeline basically and have those comments play along with the timeline. Number three is student engagement. So you can embed videos with discussion prompts to foster interaction within the student body. You can track their engagement. I said that already through analytics. And you can also generate automatic captions to improve accessibility. So you can choose to either generate automatic captions or you can upload captions as well separately if you want to. Collaborative learning, there's a bit of overlap I see through some of these, but you can encourage peer review, so you can create peer review assignments and they can be kind of video based, and you can also host asynchronous video discussions to enhance participation. So on the student end of things, then active learning is really key here, obviously. You can engage students with interactive video quizzes to test their knowledge, either pre or during or post your module that you're delivering over the 13 weeks. You can also, as I say, use time-stamped comments to clarify doubts as well. Number two there is project submissions. So students can submit video assignments to demonstrate practical skills. They can collaborate as well on video-based projects with peers. And also, the fact that you have the ability to submit media files means you can also submit draft presentations and draft videos or draft audio files for review, and the lecturer then can kind of give nice, maybe quick feedback, again temporal feedback, and maybe have that discussion back and forth through the speed grader. Speaking about feedback, you can receive that feedback through actionable suggestions, and respond to the instructor comments as well in the video timeline. So it's not a one-way situation, is what I'm saying. The student can also respond back. So you'll be familiar with that through text-based commentary and feedback in the speed grader. And then you have self-paced learning. So that was one of the last points I mentioned before. The use cases is control the playback speed and use captions for better comprehension, and then also use analytics to track your personal progress. So if you're a lecturer that is using quite a lot of video, the data can be quite useful and for you in terms of the views and engagement, maybe dropping off points, but also from a student's perspective as well, they get to see what they've completed and what they haven't. So what we're going to look at in this session is it's going to be a two-hander with myself and Ruth. So I've outlined the staff and student use cases for you. We're going to look at getting started with Canvas Studio, and then afterwards, Ruth is going to talk to you more about the editing and the engagement side of things, adding quizzes in Canvas Studio, and also some of the points at which Studio touches in with SpeedGrader and assignments. So before I do that, this is maybe, and we can again send you all of this stuff afterwards, but these are the file formats, the video file formats that Canvas Studio takes in or will work with. Flash video is gone. That should actually be off the list. I think Flash video has gone with a while, but you have all of those other ones. You have Windows Media, QuickTime, you have MP4, M4V, and 3GP, which would be a kind of a smartphone video format. So all the major formats really are all working with there. And then you have MP3 and WMA and WAV. So they're the supported video and audio files for Canvas Studio. So we're going to get started, and to get started, I'm going to have to share my screen, so bear with me a second. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them into the Q&A there as we go along. And don't worry, this won't be the last time you'll hear about Canvas Studio. We'll be rolling out more training on this over the rest of the semester as well. So let me just queue up my browser over here. Okay. So I'm just sharing my full desktop at the moment, just in case you're kind of seeing any of the menu items and stuff underneath. So this is what obviously you'll be all more familiar with in terms of Canvas. So you have your Canvas dashboard, and Canvas Studio is available in a couple of different places. So it's available at your global navigational menu level, and then it's also available if you go into any of your modules, you're going to see a studio link in here in the left. So global navigation here, and then your module navigation studio. So there's a logic to that. So Studio at Global Navigation is where you basically start to add and sort your videos at the level of Canvas, the LMS. So it's not specifically looking at modules yet. This is where you can actually start to upload videos, sort them, tag them, add them to collections, share them with others, and create collections and things like that as well. Obviously, within this area as well, you can create your content as well. So you can create your videos either through Studio Capture, which is the web-based option. I'll show you in a second. Screencast-O-Matic, and then you have your ad media. So that's your library at global level. And then if you go into your modules again, so back to the dashboard and go into Studio, you'll see you have Canvas Studio here at module level. And so this is where you can create and add videos within your modules. So the menus and stuff are quite similar. That's the only difference. You have your kind of global um, uh, Canvas Studio option here in the main menu, and then in the module you have the module menu. So I'm going to start maybe by going out to the global one here. Right, so on your left, you see a library already after creating a collection here called Tell Training. Here's your shared library, so anything you share out to other users, you can share to staff and students. You can share to specific users if you like. And then you have course collections. Now, don't get confused, and it is easy to get confused. Unfortunately, we've been on to Instructure about this. Courses are modules. So courses aren't whole programs, they are modules. So it's just the vocabulary or the user interface here. So you'll see a list of modules that you've published in here, and I have a module called Canvas Studio. For any of you who are teaching, you will have a number, a good list of modules in here under course collections. Then you have in the center here, you have a few options. So if you go to add video, you can either drag or drop media in here, or you can browse files on your machine as you would normally. And then you have, as I mentioned earlier, you have the ability to add YouTube and Vimeo links. And what that does is it'll bring in those videos, and it'll also bring in the descriptions and the titles with them, and you can still then add your quizzes and things over those videos if you wish. So what I might do, because it's the easiest thing to start with, is I might add a few videos in here through the external option. I'll add a video by uploading, and then we'll move on into the recording bits. So we've done a lot of training videos the last couple of weeks, so I've a good few URLs that I can pull from our YouTube library. The one thing I would say, and it's a discovery I made when I was adding YouTube links, is you basically copy and paste the link from the address bar in YouTube rather than the share URL in YouTube. So anything like that, if you discover it, please do keep in touch, and we'd like your feedback, because we'll be feeding this back to Instructure as well, the makers of the product. So let's add that in there. So that's one. That's designing interactive learning experiences with H5P. That was by Marian. Let's add another one. I'm going to add media, so you can add it through here. So once you've done it the initial time, it'll actually, you'll have to go up into the main menu here. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to add another one, and so on and so on. So the URL is just copied from the main URL bar in the browser. So you get the idea. I can add all of these in here. Now these are going into my library, so they're not here. And I've created a collection called Tell Training, but I've my library here. So what I can do is I can move these into that collection if I like. So I can go to Move to Tell Training and do the same with the other one, just to keep them organized. And I should have my library in there. So that's an example of obviously sharing the YouTube URLs. What I can also do is I can upload directly. So I can go in here. I'm going to go into my recent, and I have a Zoom recording that I downloaded. And what that'll do is it will give you a progress bar depending on your bandwidth. Obviously, that'll take a certain number of minutes. But this is processing. So you'll see the indication here that it's processing, which means it's kind of rendering out in the cloud. And it'll take a number of minutes for that to process. But you can see that's progressing away. So with every video that you add, you upload into Canvas, you need to give it a few minutes to basically process. So don't expect, even with a light file, I found if you go into Canvas Studio and upload a file, just give it a few minutes. So the best thing is upload it, go about your business, do something else. Either, you're organizing Canvas Studio, or else you're doing something else, and then come back to it and it should be there. Unfortunately, there's no progress bar otherwise in terms of, the processing. You just give it a few minutes afterwards. So I'll let that work away there. So that's the uploading of a file, adding the URLs. Now we're going to look at the few options that we have here on the top. So this is Studio Capture. So Studio Capture is that option I mentioned where we can capture through the web browser. So I'm going to select the webcam that I'm using. So there you can see me. You can select obviously the audio source. So the only reason I'm doing this is because I have a number of video and audio sources. So that's what you do here. You just select which one you're actively using. You have an option here, as I said, to use screen capture. The screen capture option is in beta. So this is where you can actually do screen capture through the browser. So you get this option here where you can, you can basically choose the tab within the browser, or your window, or your entire screen. But that is, as I say, in beta. You can start recording, and that will basically record 3, 2, 1 into the browser. And once you're finished talking to yourself, you can finish, save the media, give it a title. So this is test browser, save. And that'll take a number of minutes to process as well. So if you're learning one thing from today, everything will just take a number of minutes, depending on the usage as well within the university. But it's not that long. I'd say 1 or 2 minutes. That appears to be ready already, is it? Yeah, so that's not ready. So that's what I mean. You're going to get that loading bar. So just give it a few minutes. It's not broken. It's just needs a few minutes to get started. Now, so the second option is Screencast-O-Matic. So I mentioned that at the beginning. Screencast-O-Matic is an open source version of ScreenPal that many of you be using, a screencasting tool. So if you go to Screencast-O-Matic, And once, sorry, I will say, this is like what I've one that I've done earlier. Um, with Screencast-O-Matic, you're gonna still have to install it, give it permissions to use your um, uh, basically to access your desktop and to use your video and your audio sources. So it'll look something like this. You'll download and install the application. There's an open source notice there because that is, and that talks about a particular file format that Screencast-O-Matic uses. But once you've done that and you've given it the permissions, you can start using it directly from within Canvas Studio. Um, if you have any issues, do touch base with us. Just email our help desk, edtech@mtu.ie, and we can walk you through any of those maybe growing pains at the beginning. So they're the only finicky things really in terms of using the Screencast-O-Matic add-on, is that you just need to give it the adequate permissions. And I think it's fine on Windows. It might be a slightly harder, to go to privacy and so on within Mac, for example. So anyway, I've done this earlier, so I should be able to open it up and Screencast-O-Matic will eventually load for me. Okay, and this will look familiar to a lot of you, very similar to ScreenPal. So you have the screen option to capture the entire screen. You have webcam to just do the webcam. If you choose the right webcam, that is, I'm in there, all right. You have the ability to do both, and you have your audio options. So you have the computer audio to record computer audio and all of that. So we have a lot of resources on screencasting already that we can point you to, and there'll be more of this that relates directly into Canvas Studio as well as we go along. So I'm just going to cancel out of that because we're going to have to move on and give Ruth a bit of time to cover her material. So that's the Screencast-O-Matic option there. Now, just to have a look and just see if any of our videos are ready, have we this? We don't. So that's because that's a larger file. That's going to take a bit more time as well. Yeah, so we'll come back to those maybe, Ruth, afterwards, and we can have a chat about them. When it comes to YouTube videos, you obviously can't edit those, but you can do things like creating quizzes on top of them, annotating them. You're basically adding another layer on top of the video in terms of engagement, and that was a key word in our training program description today is engagement and interactivity. You can edit tags, so tags are really useful. So once you start to build a body of videos or audio over time, you can add tags to have them more searchable. And that's kind of it. And you have your sorting features, sorting from most recent to less recent and so on. And you can sort by list mode as well. So I'd say, Ruth, are you okay to take over if I pull out from there?
That's fine, no problem, Shane. I just
Yeah,
want to
so
say
that's
that there's a
sorry.
question there from Anne-Marie Green saying she has different options when she clicks on create, screen capture, webcam capture, and add media. And this is something that Shane and I both picked up when we were busy testing it out. I work in the Safari browser. Shane works in the Chrome browser. If you're working in Safari, you're going to have less options. So maybe it's a good idea to add Chrome to your and as your Internet Explorer, and then you'll have the Screencast-O-Matic option. It'll just give
Yeah,
you a bit more
it's
options in terms of editing, I suppose, Shane.
I'm not sure if it limits you in terms of options, but we've reported it to Instructure, all right, Anne Marie. So it's just a Mac thing. So the Chrome and Edge and those have the same terminology that we just showed you there.
I'm just getting my screen ready there. Can you see that, Shane?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the functions. The first one's going to be editing your Canvas Studio videos. Just click on here. There we go. So essentially, there's very basic editing functions. You can cut and trim your videos. It's suitable for very minor edits. So trimming little bits of content that you want to remove. Maybe you've uploaded one of your Zoom recordings and there's a student's question that you want to cut out. So as Shane was saying, preferable to create your videos elsewhere in Screencast-O-Matic unless you just want to top and tail videos. You can also add closed captions to your own videos. More expensive edits can be done in software like Screencast-O-Matic. If you'd like to embed a video, so Shane has shown you how to access your videos via your global navigation and your module navigation window. If you now want to embed your video in your pages, assignments, discussions, announcements, this is done via your rich content editor. So you would go into maybe a page or announcement, and you would notice that there's the little drop-down plug icon, and in the drop-down menu, you'll see Canvas Studio. If you can't see that little plug icon, you can also click on the three dots and you'll be able to add your Canvas Studio via that. So I've just recorded a little demo here. So you're now in your pages. You created a new page. You name your page. Click on the drop-down menu. Select Canvas Studio. What happens? It will open your library and your collections. So if I want to create a screen capture or I want to add media, I click on that. In this instance, you can add your file, something from your file, or you can add something from YouTube or Vimeo. I've decided to add one of the videos that I've already created. So you select the video. When you click on it, it gives you a couple of options to embed a quiz, as well as to display the media tabs and what time you want to start the video. So say, for example, you got a YouTube video, you want to start halfway through, you can set the time and then you can decide to have it muted, unmuted, or add closed captions. So once you've done that, you click on embed media. Sometimes the files can be big and takes a long time. Sometimes they can be small, so don't do this in a big rush. And then it appears in your page. There's various options where you can change things like your captions. So you can add captions here. You can add insight, look at the insights of the videos. You can edit details. So you name your video, a short description for your students, maybe add some tags, and then save it. And once it's saved, it's now embedded into your Canvas page, and you can decide who you're going to assign the video to. Once you've done that, save it and publish it, and then you'll be able to see it in your page there. So that's there. And then if there are any comments added, the students will see all the comments added at the bottom of the page. So if you would like to now, I'm just going to click out that one. If you'd like to share your videos, you can share your videos between different modules and with different teachers. One thing that I'll say, Shane had a look at the various sharing options. When you do share it, you can add an option of that the students can view your recording. So they can view, copy, and share, or they can edit the media. So editors can view, edit, delete, download, copy, and share this media. I've just noticed that we're not actually sharing the screen on YouTube there, or maybe it's just a delay. No, it's the delay, sorry. So if you don't want students to edit your media, so for example, if you don't want them to delete it, because if they delete the file there, then it will delete from your library if it's a shared library. It's best practice to maybe just add the can view the video. So that's just zoomed in so you can see it a bit better. Then if instructors share media with you, you'll find them in your shared library, and the files that you've created will go into your library. And that's where you can now edit videos if they're in your library. And then videos can also be shared amongst course collections. However, that's if something's already been added to one of your modules, then it'll appear there. You can't drop them into course collections. You can also add closed captions to your Canvas Studio recording, so make your videos a little bit more accessible by adding something that people can read at the bottom of the screen. This is always good for if you're teaching to students who don't speak English as their first language, or maybe they're hard of hearing. One thing I will say that Canvas Studio can generate captions for your videos that you've uploaded in Canvas Studio or created in Canvas Studio, but it can't generate captions for YouTube or Vimeo uploads. So it has a very basic editing function, well, caption function to generate them automatically. So just have a look at how it's done. So you select the video, you click on the two dots. I wasn't happy with the thumbnail of this one, so just quickly changed it. You can change your thumbnails. Then I decided that I wanted to edit the media a bit. So that's where you can edit it. And then you go into your three dots again and you can view your video. But and this is not where you can edit the closed captions. As you can see, when you click on closed captions, there's a bit there and it's not published yet. So I want to review and publish the closed captions there. And that's what it'll look like on the side. You can edit it. For example, if your name's spelled incorrectly, you can insert a couple of names there and then you publish it. So this will take a little bit of time. And then when it's done, you can decide to put the captions on or off. And then the students will be able to see it when they're busy viewing the video. So although Canvas Studio can automatically generate them, it doesn't remove filler words like and are. If you already have a transcript, you can upload it to Canvas Studio. However, Canvas Studio won't automatically generate for YouTube and Vimeo. Hopefully this feature, they might include it in the future because a lot of companies spend a lot of money generating closed captions for their videos, and it would be handy if there was an easy way of pulling them across from the Vimeo YouTube files. A great feature in Canvas Studio is to add quizzes directly to your media files. So something that's really handy is you can add more than one quiz to a media file. That means you can tailor your quizzes to the students that you teach, or add a series of question banks to one video to test different groups of students. So I think this is one of the most beneficial features of Canvas Studio, is being able to add multiple videos to the file. I don't think this is possible in something like H5P. So quizzes can be created in Canvas Studio. They need to be created and edited in my library. So I had a bit of frustration. I was trying to edit them via the pages, but they always need to be edited via my library. So just consider my library as a space for doing the editing. Your content-rich editors, say your pages, your discussions, all of those, use those to embed your media then into your modules. So you'd go into Studio, go into My Library, and then when you look at your files, you'll see there's that little icon there. I think I've got a better picture where it's a lot bigger. To add the file, you'd click on the three dots, and then you would have a drop-down menu. You'd add your quiz, or you can edit a quiz that already exists. That little icon over there, the little rocket ship, that shows you that you already have a quiz added to your folder, your video. And then they can be added to your own videos or Vimeo or YouTube links. So I find that very handy because then you can give corrective feedback. If you get your students to watch the video, you make sure you add a little quiz, then you can decide, this is incorrect, this isn't correct. And the students can then get feedback immediately. And then it means that they engage more with the media instead of just sitting back and passively watching or putting it on double speed or something. They're actually watching the video. So here's just a quick run through what it would look like. So you're clicking on your three dots. As you can see, there's already a quiz added there. I'm going to add a quiz to the same video. So I click Add Quiz. It'll come up. You can add your quiz title. So make sure that you name your quiz differently. If there's two different quizzes on it, maybe you can add that it's for module, whatever the module name is, for whatever student group it is. Give a little description of what the students need to do. You can hide the question markers, or you can allow displaying annotations on the timeline for students and then get started. So the one thing that I found frustrating is that you can't just click on the timeline. You can play the video, scroll through it, then you have to go back and pause the video, and then you add your quiz questions there. So there's various options of choices. You can add your multiple choice question. So add in questions, your true or false answers. And this is a good way of making sure that students are actually, watching your videos and that. Select if it's true or false, give some question feedback so that the students can immediately get feedback. One thing I will say, that the feedback is given at the end of the video. So once the video is already played, then there's a way that the student can then download and get feedback if they got all the answers right. So they have to watch the entire video until they get feedback in terms of their questions right and wrong. So here I'm just getting another question, adding it to it. I'm just going to go through this, skip through that. So they've added a couple of their questions in, and then it's in the folder, and that's where you can access the various quizzes. So that's what it will look like to the student. They can then play the video and the quiz, I'm saying squiz, I'm tongue-tied. The quiz will pop up there. So skip through that. So when you have your page already opened, quizzes can be embedded into any page through the rich content editor. Here I'm adding it to a page as a formative assessment so that students can test their skills instead of adding it to an assignment. So there I can see that my quiz is embedded onto the video. I can choose which quiz I want to add to the video. I can toggle a few settings, and then I embed the media into it through the rich content editor. So as I mentioned, in my library, you add the quiz to the video, and in the rich content editor, that's where you embed the quiz into one of your pages in your module. And then you can toggle a couple of things and who to assign it to when it's available. And then always remember to save and publish your quiz if you want your students to be able to access it. And then this is what the page will look like once it's all done. So the students will then be able to view the quiz. It'll look like this for them. So they'll see that it is a quiz. They can see the various captions that are on the quiz. They can look at their quiz results. So they generate a report once they've completed the quiz. And they can start the quiz. It'll pop up for them. And then they'll see that there are questions on the timeline with the little arrows that appear there. And when they play through it, it'll stop and pause. And they can continue, or they can rewatch the quiz once it's done. So I'm just a bit conscious of time here, so I don't want to go. I just want to give you a gist of what you can do and what it looks like. Students are also given the option to retake their quizzes. So very important, as I said, access Canvas Studio in the global navigation menu via My Library to add quizzes. You can add multiple choice, true or false, and multiple answer question types. Don't add more than 50 questions to a quiz. More, you can't edit them, and multiple choices can be added to a media file. If your quiz function isn't displaying, please contact edtech@mtu.ie. Shane, how are we doing for time there?
Yeah, we'd want to be wrapping up shortly. I suppose people are very
Okay.
patient, in fairness.
Okay, I won't be throwing any more video demos. I think just do a bit of a whistle stop here. So Canvas Studio assignment and feedback and speed grader. What you can do is you can set up a Canvas Studio assignments, uploads, so students can add things from their library, their Canvas Studio library. It'll allow instructors to add feedback via the speed grader, and they can upload files that are limited to 10 gigabytes. That's a nice big file size. Sometimes I found as a student I had to upload things to YouTube, and then my lecturer had to now watch it via there. But here you can actually embed it into your Canvas, into your assignment. So when you set up your assignment, you must just make sure that you add your assignment and you allow for online submissions, and that'll then allow the students to upload via Canvas Studio. There's a tab when they are uploading they can do a file upload, website URL, media, and they need to click on the studio file. Just make sure that you give them instructions. There'll be a help document that you can add to your assignment so that students can understand how to upload their file. They can also create and record their own recording. So, for example, if they want practice of a presentation, they can record their presentation via Canvas Studio and then get their peers to comment on it. So I'm not going to play this recording as we're running out of time. Once students have submitted their assignment, you can then go into Speed Grader and you can add comments to your student videos. So here I'll just show you where you can do that. So in Speed Grader, this is what it will look like for you as a lecturer. So you've got your recording of the student presenting and talking about whatever they're talking about. And then I can now add comments to the video at various time points. So I can give them some positive feedback or negative feedback, you know, say that's a good point or debate their point, and then students know exactly where they are going right or where they're going wrong. So it's a great way. As you can see, the comment then pops up on the screen exactly where it is. You can decide if they stay on the screen or if they pop up only at the specific point. And I find that this is going to be something that's very handy if you want to have it that students are able to give each other peer feedback on their assignments that they are submitting. And once you've put all of that information in, all the comments are down at the bottom, and you can then submit it, and the students can then access those files. So that's that. And then you can also create engagement through discussions in Canvas Studio. So in two ways, you can annotate your videos. So annotations mean that it goes onto your video, it'll stop the video, it'll give a little bit of information, say a link to something outside of the video, and then students can then continue to watch the video after they've read the annotation that you've added. So annotations are slightly different to comments in that they go over the video, they cover the video. Maybe there's a better way of saying that. And then you can add comments, and the comments go at the bottom. But we can send a bit of a more detailed recording for that. And then you'll only be able to add annotations via My Library in Canvas Studio. They can be added to external links in Canvas Studio as well as your own recordings. So you click on the three dots. This will take you to annotate video. And again, it's the same as when you add quiz questions. You need to play through your video, and then when you pause it or drag the scroll bar, then you add it to the little plus sign there. You give it a headline, a description, maybe add a link to an external module or external information, and there's text that you can display there. So you can continue to do that, and various time points those items are going to be added. And this is what a student will see. You'll play the video. At those annotations, it'll stop and a window will pop up. And then to continue watching, the student needs to press continue. So how comments are different. So then comments are added at the bottom. They can be time-stamped. You type in your comment. You can subscribe to, if someone comments, respond to your comments, and then they pop up on the side of the screen, and you can still carry on watching the video while it's going on. It doesn't necessarily have to pause, but with an annotation, it will actually stop the video. Just going to wrap up here, Shane. So when you embed a video in a discussion, annotations will appear, the video will pause, as I said, and then comments can be added at the bottom. And then this will look what it will look like when students go into a discussion that is Canvas Studio embedded. So they'll see the various comments at the bottom, and then they'll be able to see the various annotations when they play the video. So I'm going to leave this adding discussions for now, as I see that we're running out of time. And just as a wrap up, I suppose, Shane, why would you use Canvas Studio? So as Shane was saying, with the use cases that it creates engagement with media files, it's a space to store media files within Canvas. So I suppose one of the big things as a lecturer is you might have a whole lot of Zoom recordings on your computer or on your OneDrive, and you've been told there's no more space. Maybe it's a way that you can upload them into your Canvas My Library. You can have teaching and knowledge checks in one place, give them time-stamped feedback. You can access analytics to video files to monitor engagement. So there's a section where there's various, places where you can have a look at the analytics. And then if you have any questions, I see you can please put them into the chat there, but there are numerous help documents on Canvas Studio on the TEL help doc site. So for staff and for students. And as I mentioned, if you're going to set up any Canvas Studio assignment submissions for students, you need to outline the steps so that the students know exactly how to do them. But I think we've done more than enough today, Shane. I'm sure people want to go off and get into a lecture or something like that.
Thanks a million, Ruth. Yeah, so we'll leave it there, folks. But if you have, we'd be keen to hear your feedback on using the tool. It is a very new tool. And so there are things we're discovering as we get deeper into it that we'd like to improve on, or that we'd like to provide further guidance on. So over the next while, we'll be releasing some specific videos around some of the stuff that Ruth covered there, particularly around the assessment side of things. But in the meantime, those links are inside in the chat there, the help docs for staff and for students. And if you have any questions, just feel free to, as always, to contact us. Thanks a million, Anne Marie. Thanks for everybody for your attention today, and hope you have. It's not too early to say to have a good weekend, I think, considering the weather that's on the way.